A submachine gun, SMG, is a magazine-fed, automatic carbine designed to fire pistol cartridges. The term submachine gun was coined by John T. Thompson, the inventor of the Thompson submachine gun. The submachine gun was developed during World War I, 1914–1918. At its zenith during World War II, 1939–1945, millions of SMGs were made. After the war, new SMG designs appeared frequently. However, by the 1980s, SMG usage decreased. Today, submachine guns have been largely replaced by assault rifles, which have a greater effective range and are capable of penetrating the helmets and body armor used by modern infantry. However, submachine guns are still used by military special forces and police SWAT teams for close quarters battle, CQB, because they are a pistol caliber weapon that's easy to control, and less likely to overpenetrate the target. History. World War I. During World War I, the Austrians introduced the world's first machine pistol, the Steyr-Repetier Pistolet M1912/P16. The Germans also experimented machine pistols by converting pistols such as the Mauser C96 and Luger P08 from semi-automatic to fully automatic operation and adding detachable stocks. Carbine-type automatic weapons firing pistol rounds were developed during the latter stages of World War I by Italy, Germany, and the United States. Their improved firepower and portability offered an advantage in trench warfare. In 1915, the Italians introduced the Villaperosa aircraft machine gun. It fired pistol caliber 9mm Glinty ammunition, but was not a true submachine gun, as it was originally designed as a mounted weapon. This odd design was then modified into the Beretta OVP carbine-type submachine gun, which then evolved into the 9x19mm Parabellum Beretta Model 1918 after the end of World War I. Both the Beretta OVP and the Model 1918 had a traditional wooden stock, a 25-round top-fed box magazine, and had a cyclic rate of fire of 900 rounds per minute. The Germans initially used heavier versions of the P08 pistol equipped with a detachable stock, larger capacity snail drum magazine and a longer barrel. By 1918, Bergmann Waffenfabrik had developed the 9mm Parabellum MP18, the first practical submachine gun. This weapon used the same 32-round snail drum magazine as the Luger P08. The MP18 was used in significant numbers by German stormtroopers employing infiltration tactics, achieving some notable successes in the final year of the war. However, these were not enough to prevent Germany's collapse in November 1918. After World War I, the MP18 would evolve into the MP28/2 SMG, which incorporated a simple 32-round box magazine, a semi- and full auto selector, and other minor improvements. The .45 ACP Thompson submachine gun had been in development at approximately the same time as the Bergmann and the Beretta. However, the war ended before prototypes could be shipped to Europe. Although it had missed its chance to be the first purpose-designed submachine gun to enter service, it became the basis for later weapons and had the longest active service life of the three. In the interwar period, the Tommy gun or Chicago typewriter became notorious in the U.S. as a gangster's weapon. The image of pinstripe-suited James Cagney types wielding drum magazine Thompsons caused some military planners to shun the weapon. However, the FBI and other U.S. police forces themselves showed no reluctance to use and prominently display these weapons. Eventually, the submachine gun was gradually accepted by many military organizations, especially as World War II loomed, with many countries developing their own designs. World War II. The Italians were among the first to develop submachine guns during World War I. However, they were slow to produce them during World War II. The 9mm Parabellum Beretta Model 1938 was not available in large numbers until 1943. The 38 was made in a successive series of improved and simplified models, all sharing the same basic layout. The Beretta has two triggers, the front for semi-auto and rear for full auto. Most models use standard wooden stocks, although some models were fitted with an MP40 style underfolding stock and are commonly mistaken for the German SMG. The 38 series was extremely robust and proved very popular with both Axis forces and Allied troops, who used captured Berettas. It is considered the most successful and effective Italian small arm of World War II. The 38 series is the longest serving of the world's SMGs, as later models can still be seen in the hands of Italian military and police forces. In 1939, the Germans introduced the 9mm Parabellum MP38 during the invasion of Poland. However, the MP38 production was still just starting and only a few thousand were in service at the time. It proved to be far more practical and effective in close quarters combat than the standard-issue German Kar 98K bolt-action rifle. From it, the nearly identical MP40 was developed and made in large numbers, about 1 million were made during World War II. The MP40 was lighter than the MP38. It also used more stamped parts, making it faster and cheaper to produce. The MP38 and MP40 were the first SMGs to use plastic furniture and a practical folding stock. They would set the fashion for all future SMG designs. During the Winter War, the badly outnumbered Finnish used the Suomi KP-31 in large numbers against the Russians with devastating effect. Finnish ski troops became known for appearing out of the woods on one side of a road, raking Soviet columns with SMG fire and disappearing back into the woods on the other side. During the Continuation War, the Finnish Sissi patrols would often equip every soldier with KP-31s. The Suomi fired 9mm Parabellum ammo from a 71-round drum magazine, although often loaded with 74 rounds. This SMG showed to the world the importance of the submachine gun to the modern warfare, prompting the development, adoption, and mass production of submachine guns by most of the world's armies. The Suomi was used in combat until the end of the Lapland War, was widely exported and remained in service to the late 1970s. In 1940, the Russians introduced the 7.62 x 25 mm PPD-40 and later the more easily manufactured PPSH-41 in response to their experience during the Winter War against Finland. The PPSH's 71-round drum magazine is a copy of the Suomi's. Later in the war they developed the even more readily mass-produced PPS submachine gun. The USSR would go on to make over 6 million PPSH-41s and 2 million PPSs by the end of World War II. Thus, the Soviet Union could field huge numbers of submachine guns against the Wehrmacht, with whole infantry battalions being armed with little else. Even in the hands of conscripted soldiers with minimal training, the volume of fire produced by massed submachine guns could be overwhelming. In 1941, Britain adopted the 9mm Parabellum Lanchester submachine gun. Following the Dunkirk evacuation, and with no time for the usual research and development for a new weapon, it was decided to make a direct copy of the German MP28. However, this gun, the Lanchester, proved to be difficult and expensive to manufacture. Shortly thereafter, the simpler Sten submachine gun was developed, which was much cheaper and faster to make. Over 4 million Sten guns were made during World War II. The Sten was so cheap and easy to make that Germany started manufacturing their own copy, the MP 3008, towards the end of World War II. After the war, the British replaced the Sten with the Sterling submachine gun. Britain also used many M1928 Thompson submachine guns during World War II. The United States and its allies used the Thompson submachine gun, especially the simplified M1. However, the Thompson was still expensive and slow to produce. Therefore, the US developed the M3 submachine gun or grease gun in 1942, followed by the improved M3A1 in 1944. While the M3 was no more effective than the Tommy gun, it was made primarily of stamped parts and welded together, and so, it could be produced much faster and at fraction of the cost of a Thompson. It could be configured to fire either .45 ACP or 9mm Luger ammunition. The M3A1 was among the longest-serving submachine guns designs, being produced into the 1960s and serving in U.S. forces into the 1980s. After World War II, new submachine gun designs appeared almost every week to replace the admittedly rough and ready designs which had appeared during the war. Some, the better ones, survived, most rarely got past the glossy brochure stage. Most of these survivors were cheaper, easier, and faster to make than their predecessors. As such, they were widely distributed. In 1945, Sweden introduced the 9mm Parabellum Carl Gustaf M/45 with a design borrowing from and improving on many design elements of earlier submachine gun designs. It has a tubular stamped steel receiver with a side folding stock. The M/45 was widely exported, and especially popular with CIA operatives and U.S. Special Forces during the Vietnam War. In U.S. service it was known as the Swedish K. In 1966, the Swedish government blocked the sale of firearms to the United States because it opposed the Vietnam War. As a result, in the following year Smith & Wesson began to manufacture an M/45 clone called the M76. In 1946, Denmark introduced the Madsen M46, and in 1950, an improved model the Madsen M50. These 9mm Parabellum stamped steel SMGs featured a unique clamshell-type design, a side folding stock and a grip safety on the magazine housing. The Madsen was widely exported and especially popular in Latin America, with variants made by several countries. In 1948, Czechoslovakia introduced the SAVZ 23 series. This 9mm Parabellum SMG introduced several innovations: a progressive trigger for selecting between semi-automatic and full auto fire, a telescoping bolt that extends forward wrapping around the barrel, and a vertical hand grip housing the magazine and trigger mechanism. The VZ 23 series was widely exported and especially popular in Africa and the Middle East, with variants made by several countries. The VZ 23 inspired the development of the Uzi submachine gun. In 1949, France introduced the MAT 49 to replace the hodgepodge of French, American, British, German, and Italian SMGs in French service after World War II. The 9mm Parabellum MAT 49 is an inexpensive stamped steel SMG with a telescoping wire stock, a pronounced folding magazine housing, and a grip safety. This wild beast-like design proved to be an extremely reliable and effective SMG, and was used by the French well into the 1980s. It was also widely exported to Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. 1950s. In 1954, Israel introduced a 9mm Parabellum open-bolt, blowback-operated submachine gun called the Uzi, after its designer Uzziel Gal. The Uzi was one of the first weapons to use a telescoping bolt design with the magazine housed in the pistol grip for a shorter weapon. The Uzi has become the most popular submachine gun in the world, with over 10 million units sold, more than any other submachine gun. In 1959, Beretta introduced the Model 12. This 9mm Parabellum submachine gun was a complete break with previous Beretta designs. It is a small, compact, very well-made SMG and among the first to use telescoping bolt design. The M12 was designed for mass production and was made largely of stamped steel and welded together. It is identified by its tubular shape receiver, double pistol grips, a side folding stock, and the magazine housed in front of the trigger guard. The M12 uses the same magazines as the Model 38 series. 1960s. In the 1960s, Heckler & Koch developed the 9mm Parabellum MP5 submachine gun. The MP5 is based on the G3 rifle and uses the same closed-bolt roller-delayed blowback operation system. This makes the MP5 more accurate than open-bolt SMGs, such as the Uzi. The MP5 is also one of the most widely used submachine guns in the world, having been adopted by 40 nations and numerous military, law enforcement, intelligence, and security organizations. In 1969, Steyr introduced the MPI-69. This 9mm Parabellum open-bolt, blowback-operated SMG has telescoping bolt and is similar in appearance to the Uzi SMG. It has a vertical pistol grip into which the magazine is inserted, a longer horizontal front grip area, and a telescoping wire buttstock. The receiver is a squared stamped steel tube which partly nestles inside a large plastic molding, resembling a lower receiver, which contains the forward hand grip, vertical pistol grip, and the fire control group. making the MPI-69 one of the first firearms to use a plastic construction in this way. It has a progressive trigger and is also unusual among modern SMGs, as the MPI-69 is cocked by a dual-purpose lever also used as the front sling attachment point. 1970s. In the 1970s, extremely compact submachine guns, such as the .45 ACP Mach 10 and .380 ACP Mach 11, were developed to be used with silencers or suppressors. While these SMGs received enormous publicity, and were prominently displayed in films and television, they were not widely adopted by military or police forces. These smaller weapons led other manufacturers to develop their own compact SMGs, such as the Micro Uzi and the H&K MP5K. 1980s. By the 1980s, the demand for new submachine guns was very low and could be easily met by existing makers with existing designs. However, following H&K's lead, other manufacturers began designing submachine guns based on their existing assault rifle patterns. These new SMGs offered a high degree of parts commonality with parent weapons, thereby easing logistical concerns. In 1987, Colt introduced the Colt 9mm SMG based on the M16 rifle. The Colt SMG is a closed-bolt, blowback-operated SMG and the overall aesthetics are identical to most M16 type rifles. The magazine well is modified using a special adapter to allow the use of smaller 9mm magazines. The magazines themselves are a copy of the Israeli Uzi SMG magazine, modified to fit the Colt and lock the bolt back after the last shot. The Colt is widely used by U.S. police forces and the USMC. 1990s. In 1998, H&K introduced the last widely distributed SMG, the UMP Universal Machine Pistol. The UMP is a 9mm .40 SNW or .45 ACP, closed-bolt blowback-operated SMG, based on the H&K G36 assault rifle. It features a predominantly polymer construction and was designed to be a lighter and cheaper alternative to the MP5. The UMP has a side-folding stock and is available with 4 different trigger group configurations. It was also designed to use a wide range of Picatinny rail-mounted accessories. 2000s. In 2004, Ismash introduced the Vicious SN, a 9mm Parabellum, closed-bolt straight blowback-operated submachine gun. It is based on the AK-74 rifle and offers a high degree of parts commonality with the AK-74. It is the standard submachine gun for all branches of Russian military and police forces. 2010s. In the 2010s, assault rifles have replaced submachine guns in most roles. Factors such as the increasing use of body armor and logistical concerns have combined to limit the appeal of submachine guns. However, SMGs are still used by police, especially SWAT teams, for dealing with heavily armed suspects and military special forces units for close quarters combat, due to their reduced size, recoil, and muzzle blast. Submachine guns also lend themselves to the use of suppressors, particularly when loaded with subsonic ammunition. Variants of the Sterling and Heckler & Koch MP5 have been manufactured with integral suppressors. Personal defense weapons. Developed during the late 1980s, the personal defense weapon, PDW, is touted as a further evolution of the submachine gun. The PDW was created in response to a NATO request for a replacement for 9x19mm Parabellum submachine guns. The PDW is a compact automatic weapon that can defeat enemy body armor and which can be used conveniently by non-combatant and support troops, and as a close-quarters battle weapon for special forces and counter-terrorist groups. Introduced in 1991, the FNP90 features a bullpup design with a futuristic appearance. It has a 50-round magazine housed horizontally above the barrel, an integrated reflex sight and fully ambidextrous controls. A simple blowback automatic weapon, it was designed to fire the FN 5.7x28mm cartridge which can penetrate soft body armor. The P90 was designed to have a length no greater than a man's shoulder width, to allow it to be easily carried and maneuvered in tight spaces, such as the inside of an armored vehicle. Introduced in 2001, the Heckler & Koch MP7 is a direct rival to the FNP90. It is a more conventional-looking design. The MP7 uses a short-stroke piston gas system as used on H&K SG-36 and HK-416 assault rifles, in place of a blowback system traditionally seen on submachine guns. The MP7 uses 20, 30, and 40 round magazines and fires 4.6 x 30 mm ammunition which can penetrate soft body armor. Due to the heavy use of polymers in its construction, the MP7 is much lighter than older SMG designs, being only 1.2 kilograms, 2.65 pounds, with 20-round empty magazine. Name. There are some inconsistencies in the classification of submachine guns. British Commonwealth sources often refer to SMGs as machine carbines. Other sources refer to SMGs as machine pistols because they fire pistol caliber ammunition, for example, the MP40 and MP5, where MP stands for Maschinenpistole, submachine gun in German, but cognate with the English term machine pistol. However, the term machine pistol is also used to describe a handgun-style firearm capable of fully automatic or burst fire, such as the Stecken, Beretta 93R and the H&K VP70. Firearms like the FNP90 and H&K MP7 are also referred to as personal defense weapons because the small caliber, high-velocity ammunition is claimed to offer superior performance to conventional pistol ammunition. In addition, some compact assault rifles, such as the Colt XM177, HK53, and AX-74U, have been historically referred to as submachine guns as they served in the latter's role.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.